Thanks for coming. This talk was supposed to be called Multi-Collateral DAI 3 months later, but after what happened this morning and watching Taylor's talk 2 hours ago, I redid most of my slides, so I hope you enjoy this. Quick intro, my name is Mariano Conti. I'm head of smart contracts at Maker Foundation. I'm one of the oldest employees at the foundation right now. I've been getting paid in what was proto-Psi, then Psi and DAI since July 2017. I've been using crypto to escape Argentina's inflation since 2014, and I hope you watch my DevCon 5 talk about that. But what I'm going to talk today about is DAI, how we have 125 million DAI and counting, and the responsibilities that come with that and what we can do about it. So this is a shot of DAIstats.com. It'll give you a snapshot of what is going on with MCD, multi-collateral DAI, at any time. And I mean, this is all just a lot of numbers, but some interesting ones. 124 million total DAI, which is now 125, plus the old version, Psi, 21 million. There's 145 million combined DAI plus Psi. The system holds between the two around 2% of all ETH in existence, 1.3% of all BAT. We're reaching the debt ceiling, so there's going to be a governance vote soon, and I'm going to be talking more about that. One of the cool things that we did is the DSR, which gives you 7.5 APY on any DAI that you lock up, and that is driving adoption by a huge amount. And we've seen projects like Chai, which right now it's at 3.5 million, but used to be 5 yesterday, which are making use of DSR in interesting ways. But just want to point out a couple of numbers. 56% of all DAI is in DSR, and I don't know what's going on. Okay, there we go. And another cool thing, the Maker protocol is burning 10,000 DAIs worth of MKR each day via surplus auction. This is the system working and working for its MKR holders. Initial supply of MKR was 1 million. We're down to 987,000. And as long as the protocol is working, this is going to continue. And you can look at it in daiactions.com/flap. And so basically, the system is working, and it's working fine. DAI is the foundation of DeFi, in my opinion. DeFi is the #1 use case for Ethereum. DAI is a stable medium of exchange. It's allowed us to do stuff that just isn't possible with a volatile asset like Ether. It's supported pretty much by every protocol and dApp. Many projects this weekend are going to build on DAI and DSR, which makes us really proud. It is almost the standard stablecoin on Ethereum, and like I said, it freaking works. But after watching today's talk and what happened with Fulcrum, I'm going to stand here and tell you all of the risks that the Maker protocol has. This is non-exhaustive, and what we're doing to fix them and what you can do with us to fix them. So let's begin with the first one, smart contract risk. We all know about this. It's maybe we forgot something and somebody drains 2% of all Ether. That's a risk that is always going to be there. That's just, we can't escape that. This is smart contracts. It is software. Software has bugs. We can mitigate that, and we've done that with formal verification. So we're going to be releasing soon a lot of information about how the core of multi-collateral DAI is formally verified. But this brings me to the formal verification fallacy. It's like, if you write your proofs the wrong way, then they're going to pass, but you're proving the wrong thing. So you need to be extra careful with that. And it's not just, our contracts are formally verified, you should trust them. It's like, it's turtles all the way down. It's good that we have it, but it's often not even enough. The big one, MKR governance attack. This is something that is real. It is mitigatable. It is something that we have something called the governance security module, which adds a delay, which could be 24 hours, to every single governance change to the system. This is something that the smart contracts team and the whole of Maker Foundation decided that we wouldn't start with it because we thought the risk of smart contract bug was going to be higher than the risk of a governance attack. But as 3 months have gone by and there are no smart contract bugs, we need to revisit this, and we're going to be revisiting very soon, especially given what we saw this morning. Whale collusion. This is a real thing. There are at least 4 known whales sometimes even one whale is going to be enough to vote whatever they want into the system. And sometimes it will only take 2. And as long as there is voter apathy and there's not enough MKR securing the system, this is a totally, completely real threat. Bad governance, of course. If those whales get together and they say, hey, I want to get whatever token into it, or I want to change the risk parameters, then the whole system can crumble down. And if DAI crumbles, then pretty much most of DeFi, I'm sad to say, will crumble with it. Of course, the black swan, 97% of DAI is backed by Ether, right? So if Ether drops 50% today, I don't know if the system could really, survive with it. When we launched single collateral DAI, I believe Ether was around 800. We had the all-time highs of 1,400, and then it went down to 80. But this was a gradual 2-year bear market, right? We can handle that. I don't know if we could handle a black swan event. That's why the multi-collateral is going to play a big part later on. Oracle attack, of course, that's one of the big things. If somebody pushes the wrong price, then you can borrow infinite DAI against Ether, against BAT. We mitigate this with the Oracle security module, which is something that prices are delayed by 1 hour, and we have 59 minutes to react and do something about it. And we talk about this, but we don't talk about it enough. Or people say, you don't talk about risks enough. So that's why I'm here today talking about all this. This morning, flash freaking loans, that's probably going to be what my team is going to be working on the next month, mitigating all of this. So thank you, DYDX, Ave, Stani, wherever you are. You've given us a lot of work, but this is work that we do gladly because if it can be done, it will be done, and we need to prepare for it, right? So that's what we're going to do. Poor liquidity and bad auctions. If your vault gets liquidated and there's not enough keepers there to buy your collateral, or the price is dropping, then you may end up losing more than just a 13% penalty. That is something that we should discuss more. So why am I telling you all of this? It's because DeFi is still in its infancy, and we are all its moms and dads. We are the ones building the protocols and making them better. And we should be aware of this. We should tell people the risks. I'm not saying we should tell them. There are some maximalists, I'm not going to say the word, but they come to us, and every time I mention something, they're like, yeah, but what about the risks? And okay, I'm telling the risks. Each time somebody asks me, I'm going to point to this presentation because I want to help build without having to mention them all the time. They're always in my mind, but we need to acknowledge them and fix them. That's it. That's how we're going to grow this ecosystem. And by the way, I'm all in DAI and Ether, of course, because of this, because I'm working on making it better every day. So how can you help all of this? And by the way, that was non-exhaustive. I can think of 5 more that just came into my head right now. The big one is participating governance. Help us. We have chats, forums, on-chain. We're on Twitter. We're on Reddit. We're here. Help us make good decisions. Something I've been saying since 2018, pool your MKR. I don't know why there's no vote delegation yet. Somebody has to build this. We're giving 2,000 DAI at this hackathon if somebody builds a proof of concept. threaten the whales. Tell them, it's like, if we pull enough, we got protocol politicians that can, appease some of these concerns. We have a great collateral onboarding guide for the next tokens that are going to be in MCD, and that is being written all by the community. I joined the chat the other day, and they almost kicked me out, because it's like, no, you're not part of the process. Like, when we have something, we'll let you know. And it's like, okay, this is working. Point out the flaws like I'm doing, and help us eradicate them. And, help us fix and not fork. I'm not your boss, I'm not your dad. If you want to fork, do it, but there's so few projects in DeFi right now, or in Ethereum in general, that are working, that I urge everybody to take the one that is mostly working, that it has a few kinks, and that we can fix, and help us fix it. You'll make me sad if you fork, but I will try to learn from what you do, and I will try to incorporate it into the Maker protocol. So yeah, I think I have like 10 minutes for questions. I wanted to make this quick. So thank you very much, and please ask anything you want about this. Thank you. So those are some links. The forum, that's where governance happens, the chat, voting. I encourage you all to participate. Yep.
Hey, Mariano, thanks for your work.
Yep.
So while slips are meant for joins, a vet allows any ward to slip the ilk of any user and take the gems from their jugs. So my question is, like, why aren't slips only for joins, and should you be able to frog the cats?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know that Taiwanese is not the easiest thing. I love your much clearer DAI, by the way. And I think you mostly said something correct. So one of the things we're going to do, and we had this in single collateral DAI, is we had something called the DAI mom, which sat in between the system and governance. So right now, governance controls the system directly. Our plan is to put in a stopgap in the middle. So this, of course, has to be voted in. But the idea would be that governance would not have access to people's earns directly, but they would only be able to frog them with correct parameters via what we would call the DAI mom. But I applaud your effort, and I love that you're learning the language.
Hey, so going back to the Micah blog post,
Yep.
I saw a tweet linking to an article that I can no longer find that argued the underlying voting protocol works slightly differently in such a way that it also prevents this type of attack. Are you familiar with that blog post, or can you comment on that technique?
I think it was probably Nikolai's, right?
That sounds familiar, yeah.
Co-founder of Maker. Yeah, so what it says is that in continuous voting, the way MKR governance works right now is you put in a large amount of MKR on what we call a spell, which is really just an address, and that address controls the system. So usually that address is a smart contract that is meant to be run once and never again, which we call spells, which change some parameter, but it could be an externally owned account, it could be something else. And the point of Mika's blog post was that when you're voting for something else, you're removing MKR for one spell and putting it in another, and there could be a time of imbalance when you lower the current governance, the current voting spell so much that somebody could come in at that point and put something else. What Nikolai argues correctly is that the system is prepared to handle this because you can vote on two or more things at once. So you can vote on the current one and the new one, and you can protect the system. The only problem is that our UI does not support that. We had a very complex UI, and people just didn't use it. We created a more simple UI, and people used it a little bit more, but there's still voter apathy. There's not a lot of people using it, and the UI does not account for this. So yes, this is something that we're aware of, and it could be fixed just via UI or via using the more complicated one that we had, but we're going to do something about it. Thank you.
I was hoping you could go a little bit more into vote delegation. So there's a number of different ways to create vote delegation. I was wondering maybe you could talk about some of the parameters that might be useful for somebody hacking at this event to maybe build into their system. I think being able to delegate your vote from cold storage is something that we all want to have. Is there anything that needs to change in the MakerDAO protocol for this to work? And just maybe you just elaborate on why that is important as well.
Yeah. Right now, vote delegation can be done without changing anything about the Maker protocol. You can do it as simple as you want. I know Mooney, somewhere around here, who works on the smart contracts team, has a proof of concept. It's just missing, like everything, a great UI. You can just have somebody put MKR in a smart contract that somebody else controls, but they only control it for voting. They cannot move it around. They cannot do anything else other than vote on, in governance. And then you can get more complex and say, okay, you can verify, this is slightly more complicated, but you can verify that what your politician is going to be voting on won't do more than what you expect it to do. So you can say, you can start simple. I'm going to delegate my votes for somebody who increases DAI adoption, but no more than, I don't know, they don't vote for a spread in DSR of more than 1%. And if they do, then the transaction fails. That is slightly more complicated, but if somebody's hacking on this right now, I would say work on the spells that are used every week. It's like changing the DSR and changing the stability fee. And if you start with that, you have 90% of what governance is about these days. And I don't know whether, yeah, thank you.
So with respect to Micah's governance attack, I think it's great that you implemented a delay. That's awesome, right? So you go from like...
But it is not active yet.
Oh, okay, sure. But the approach is great. It's going from forced upgrades to opt-out upgrades, which is strictly better. But I worry if 24 hours is too little time. In particular, I wonder if, like, for example, if the entire Maker Foundation is at DevCon in some foreign country and a malicious proposal is created, will you guys be able to get access to your keys? Will whales in general be able to get access to their keys within 24 hours? So I wonder if, I love the approach, I just wonder if the delay is too small.
Well, the Maker Foundation, even with its dev fund of 100 and something thousand MKR, the foundation doesn't vote with that. So, of course, there's nothing in a smart contract saying that it can't vote with that. It's just like social, but even so, yeah, 24 hours is going to be the start. The idea later on is that there are going to be different delays for different things. So, say something as destructive, and I use the word loosely, as adding new collateral, which can potentially be, that would maybe be under a 1 month delay, right? Something that changes a parameter no more than X% could be under 24 hours. Something else could be under 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know of any project doing what we're doing, like in the open as we are. So we're open for, and this happens in the forums as well. Like the community says, hey, is 24 hours enough? And they create polls and they tell us. And I mean, I think, yeah, 24 hours is going to be good for certain things, but not for everything. And the protocol supports multiple different delays. Yeah. And if there are no other questions, I think we're done. Great. Thank you very much.